Awakening comes with many layers of loss. The loss of the sense of the self, the way in which you've experienced the world, and what it is that maybe you think you're moving into. And that makes this a very scary process. So how is it that you can have something that gives you stability, that roots you through this dynamic process of grief and change? Watch on to discover more.
Allow your heart to listen.
In this series, we've been exploring awakening, the many layers at which awakening can begin to happen through us, and where it takes us in discovering more of who we are, what we're here to experience in this world. And in this video, we're going to drop into what can seem like one of the hardest layers, where it is that we lose pretty much everything. This is a process and a space of allowing yourself to drop into something much deeper, much more expansive than can actually ever really be known or touched through words. But we're going to do our best in this video to understand what that is and how you can get that support and stability, feel that anchoring and groundedness through this part of the awakening process. Hello, I'm Nid. I am a soul guide and I support people through awakening at the many layers at which it happens, whether it's through something physical, that means that you've got a loss of the freedoms you once had through the body, whether it's through a loss of someone that you've loved or an important relationship in your life, or a loss of something you do and how it is that you create and express yourself in the world, and that's shifted in some way. And these are many ways in which we can lose that sense of ourself in the process of awakening. What awakening asks us to do is release the perception of who we once were. And that affects who we were in a relationship and how relationships have operated, or who we are in terms of what we express and how we express ourselves, and therefore what we deliver and contribute in this world, what it is that we create. And there might be many chapters of loss in your life, or you might be someone who manages to do that mostly through one way in most of your life, and then there is a shift in a chapter, like retirement. And so all of these are aspects of letting go, of loss, of grief, of who you've been, of what it is that's going from your life. And that can be not only really sad, comes with the great feelings of emptiness as we no longer have something that we once had. And that in itself requires the space and to be with those feelings of sadness, because as with all feelings, they will move through. And yet there's something else that happens as we are asked to move into this vast emptiness of what we are yet to become before we know what that is. As it is, all we can see is what we're losing. And we might want to try and create from that past, but that's not really permitted in the moving forwards. And I know personally, and I see it with my own clients, there can be many attempts and it can take time to keep trying to pull forwards parts of your past into that new self. How could I make sense of that part of my career into my new career? And that often happens, I see, with people transitioning from a corporate career into their wellness, their more soul-aligned business. They're trying to make sense and bring forth some of those corporate parts of their connections into what it is that they're doing next. And that's great, but it may not actually have anything to do with what you're moving into. It's just part of the transition. And this is important because we want to ensure that whatever it is that helps you feel a little secure and a little bit stable is still there. There's no need to throw yourself off the edge without any of that security of what you once were into who you're becoming. But sometimes life doesn't give us that security. Sometimes you really are thrown into that big leap of the unknown. And what can you do to understand what is happening? I wanted to tap into this part of our journey that we've been using, the gene keys, to support us, because it is laid out in the gene keys prophecy for this time that there are certain keys that are activated along the journey. And there is a way in which those keys can also help you understand a little bit more what might be happening for you. But also within the awakening spiral, we are in a place right now where we're dropping into that void, that waiting for what comes next, for what's the next form that is going to come through as you let yourself into the void of emptiness, the void of creation. And this is like dropping into a womb before it has actually had the new seed of life woven into it. It's like being in the earth waiting for the bird to drop the seed for it to actually drop into and start to plant into the earth. So in this emptiness, what begins to happen is that the ego, the personality, starts to loosen its grip. We start to see how our personality may not be taking us forwards in certain ways. And we open up to what is part of divine will, as it is known, which is that larger will of the creation of life to dance through us. And what comes through in the gene keys is in gene key 24, where we can feel really purposeless. We can feel like, what am I doing here? What is this all about? What is life about? And that's okay to question it. It's great to be in this place, to wonder, and to be empty and open to what it is that you may be here to bring forth in a larger way than you ever imagined. And when you open and surrender to that, so much more can start to move through you. And this is where we actually tap into one of the Hindu mythologies of Leela, that all of what we see is a divine play, and that we are each playing a role in that play. Everyone has their part. And the key is to find out what your part is. And sometimes our personality gets a little lost in the role, and we forget that we're not the character we're here to play, but that we're actually playing a role. And what is that role? When you lose your identity to the character and forget your role, sometimes we're given that reset so we can reconnect into actually, what is my role in this big play? And this puts us into the totality of all humans interacting, of all life co-creating together. And that what you're really moving from is something much bigger that asks you to provide and play your part. What it is that you're going to step forward and be responsible for within this beautiful play, the Leela. And I love this because it brings us back into the totality of all of us as a collective, conscious, co-creative force together. And it lifts the responsibility of the world problems, of the existential aspects that we can get so lost in anxiety of what is happening in the collective. And remember that when you drop into the void, when you take that time to say, what is my part from source? What does spirit guide me to take action in? Then the form, the movement that you're going to take forwards will be the piece that you're responsible for, your part in resolving this collective angst and change that is happening. And that brings us to the other gene key that is active at this time of return energy in the awakening spiral. That is of gene key 44, where we actually really understand teamwork. There is no need for hierarchical structure because everybody knows their role, their responsibility, their part in relationship with that grand piece of play. Everyone knows what it is that they're showing up for, that I am a fractal and that you are a fractal. And I love to talk to my clients about how we are like a big disco ball, and we are each the different teeny faces on the disco ball, and that I only know that I'm a disco ball reflecting this little bit of light. You're a disco ball, little bit of it facing over there, shining that bit of light. And we can sometimes forget that we are this whole disco ball. But it is with the whole and everyone facing their angle in their way that actually creates the teamwork of the beautiful reflections of all the different fractals of light when the light shines on the disco ball. And really, that's what we're all doing. And the karma that we attract is part of our role, our responsibility in acting out part of the play, in taking part in the Leela. The karma, the highs and the lows of right and wrong decision making, of, oh, I didn't do it quickly enough, oh, I've made that mistake, oh, I should have done it like that. All of these are a part of playing in that Leela, of being in the greatest teamwork that you could ever comprehend. And that is actually a really exciting contribution to be a part of. That when you drop into the divine will of creation and knowing your responsibility and your part, you are actually really serving coherently. And that starts to let more grace come into our world. That means that more grace can serve all of us and flow through for healing. And that ensures that all of us start to live more coherently together. And so when it comes to this part, we are releasing and relinquishing all that we thought we once were. We are dropping into an emptiness, a place of unknown what comes next, but of knowing that what was past no longer needs to continue. And so it can be really helpful to give time to letting go of what it was that once was. Perhaps there's journaling, perhaps there's a ceremony, perhaps you want to dance and move your body to set free what was past. And then come and sit in that stillness. And in the stillness, ask the earth to start to birth through you. For her to be the anchor that creates something through you in your life. And if you need some signs, it's okay to say, I'd like a sign. What should I do? And then give her a helping hand. Set some guidelines of how you're going to know that's the sign, because otherwise you're going to be, is that the sign? Is that the sign? So be clear about the sign that you'd like to see to help you know which direction to go in. What thought was the right one to act on? What impulse? Maybe you sit with it for a month before you act on it and roll through it for a whole moon cycle before you act on it. And that's great. Give yourself that time if that's what you need. And in fact, it's better to take your time than to rush from that old energy, because that allows that divine will to flow through you in a very grounded way. And if you're unsure and you'd like a little bit more support with what might some of those ideas be, you could look at your Gene Keys profile. It's not going to give you some obvious career path, but it is going to give you the frequency at which you are going to resonate best in order to find that place of what's going to move you forwards. And you can get a link for that free Gene Keys profile below. And in that free reading, you're going to be given what's your purpose in your life's work, which will start to guide you in that direction. But I wanted to touch on one final thing. We have a tendency as humans to want to know why, to want to know the whole picture, to say it's not fair, to understand what everyone's job is and everyone's role is. And I invite you to release knowing, to remember that you're one of the little beautiful pieces on the disco ball. And you just need to shine in the direction and the light that you capture. And let others capture the light for themselves. And then we will have the most beautiful dance together on this stage of Leela. So before you leave, take a moment. If you are in that process of letting go of an old self and waiting to discover the new, allow yourself that time to grieve and let go of what is done. And as you do that, ask for the guidance. Ensure that you know what the signs are going to be. And follow it, not quickly. Allow your own pace and rhythm before you take that action. Tune into the way and how that action is going to be. And trust that that is your part in this piece. I hope that as you move into 2026, you have a really beautiful year and that you let go of what is past and step into that new future with some of the stability of pausing, of noticing the reflections around you in your life that are guiding you, always guiding you to what is your role, what is your part. And just focus on what you're here to do, not what others are here to do. It's for them to find out their part and for you to find out yours. And I hope that your 2026 comes with the joy of discovering and enjoying your part and what you are here to share. And that those gifts, that light and that reflection that you are shining out begins to really resonate across the world for us all, with the people you're here to touch in the way that you're supposed to help harmonize them. And I look forward to connecting with you in 2026. Stay safe and stay well. Much love.
Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful day.